baby, you know it's all about NTA. Here we go. Somebody say NTA, 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 NTA. Let it go blue. We voting NTA. Go blue. NTA is the way. Go blue. Gary Griffith got the plan. Go blue. So let us save our nation. No. NT, NT. We voting NTA. Voting, voting. We voting NTA. Voting, voting. We voting NTA. Voting, we voting. We voting NTA. Yeah, baby, you know it's all about NTA. Here we go. Somebody say NTA, 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 NTA. Let it go blue. We voting NTA. Go blue. NTA is the way. Go blue. Gary Griffith got the plan. Go blue. So let us save our nation. No. NT, NT. We voting NTA. Voting, voting. We voting NTA. Voting, voting. We voting NTA. Voting. We voting.
On April 28th, a vote for Marshall Walker is a vote for me. A vote for the NTA is a vote for leadership, accountability, management, and measurement of performance. On April 28th, place your X by the lighthouse and let us begin transforming Diego Martin West.
Yeah, baby, you know it's all about NTA. Here we go. Somebody say NTA, 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 NTA. Let it go blue. We voting NTA. Go blue. NTA is the way. Go blue. Gary Griffith got the plan. Go blue. So let us save our nation. No.
Check 1 1 2. Check. Sound check 1 2. Sound check. One, two. Sound check 1. Sound check.
For Diego Martin West. This Thursday, 24th April, I am inviting you to meet with myself and the political leader, Captain Gary Griffith, at Winsurff Park in Westmoorings. From 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. You will have an opportunity to voice your concerns, ask questions, and get them answered. On April 28th, we want you to make an informed decision when you go to vote. We're looking forward to a meaningful discussion this Thursday, 24th April, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Winsurff Park in Westmoorings. See you there.
Yeah, baby, you know it's all about NTA. Here we go. Somebody say NTA, 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 NTA. Let it go blue. We vote in NTA. Go blue. NTA is the way. Go blue. Gary Griffith got the plan. Go blue. So let us save our nation. No. NT, we vote in NTA. Voting, we vote in NTA. Voting, we vote in NTA. Voting, we vote in NTA.
This is Gary Griffith. On April 28th, a vote for Marshall Walker is a vote for me. A vote for the NTA is a vote for leadership, accountability, management, and measurement of performance. On April 28th, place your X by the lighthouse and let us begin transforming Diego Martin West.
Yeah, baby, you know it's all about NTA. Here we go. Somebody say NTA, 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 NTA. Let it go blue. We vote in NTA. Go blue. NTA is the way. Go blue. Gary Griffith got the plan. Go blue. So let us save our nation. No. NT, we vote in NTA. Voting, we vote in NTA. Voting, we vote in NTA. Voting, we vote in NTA.
1 in 4 adults in Trinidad and Tobago cannot read basic words like at. We spend $7 billion every single year on education, yet 1 in 4 adults cannot cope with basic words like at. Throwing money at our problems is not the solution. What you need on April 28th is leadership with a proven track record of weeding out corruption, of weeding out mismanagement of our funds. 1 in 4 adults cannot read basic words like at, even after spending $7 billion on education every single year. It is time to stop wasting our nation's resources. This April 28th, vote for leadership, vote for accountability, vote for transparency, vote for the NTA. I am Marshall Walker, your NTA candidate for Diego Martin West. On April 28th, my name will be the 3rd on your ballot sheet. You are looking for Walker, the NTA symbol. Place your X for leadership you can trust.
Yeah, baby, you know it's all about NTA. Here we go. Somebody say NTA, 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 NTA. Let me go blue. We voting NTA. Go blue. NTA is the way. Go blue. Gary Griffith got the plan. Go blue. So let us save our nation. No. NT, we voting NTA. Voting, we voting NTA. Voting, we voting NTA. Voting, we voting NTA.
This is Gary Griffith. On April 28th, a vote for Marshall Walker is a vote for me. A vote for the NTA is a vote for leadership, accountability, management, and measurement of performance. On April 28th, place your X by the lighthouse and let us begin transforming Diego Martin West.
Yeah, baby, you know it's all about NTA. Here we go. Somebody say NTA, 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 NTA. Let me go blue. We voting NTA. Go blue. NTA is the way. Go blue. Gary Griffith got the plan. Go blue. So let us save our nation. No. NT, we voting NTA. Voting, we voting NTA. Voting, we voting NTA. Voting, we voting NTA. Somebody say NTA, NTA, NTA.
With the right leadership, we wouldn't still be third world after spending trillions of dollars on free health, free education, and free housing. With the right leadership, we wouldn't have studies by Alta and UE telling us that almost 1 in 4 citizens over the age of 15 are unable to cope with everyday reading and writing. Imagine spending some $7 billion in education every single year, and approximately 62,000 adults in this country cannot read simple words like at, to, love, and son. This is why, more than election goodies, the country needs a party that has a track record of good leadership.
Let me go blue. We voting NTA. Go blue. NTA is the way. Go blue. So come and save our. Yeah, baby, you know it's all about NTA. Here we go. Somebody say NTA, 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 NTA. Let me go blue. We voting NTA. Go blue. NTA is the way. Go blue. Gary Griffith got the plan. Go blue. So let us save our nation. No. NT, we voting NTA. Voting, we voting NTA. Voting, we voting NTA. Voting, we voting NTA.
This is Gary Griffith. On April 28th, a vote for Marshall Walker is a vote for me. A vote for the NTA is a vote for leadership, accountability, management, and measurement of performance. On April 28th, place your X by the lighthouse and let us begin transforming Diego Martin West.
Yeah, baby, you know it's all about NTA. Here we go. Somebody say NTA, 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 NTA. Let me go blue. We voting NTA. Go blue. NTA is the way. Go blue. Gary Griffith got the plan. Go blue. So let us save our nation. No. NT, we voting NTA. Voting, we voting NTA. Voting, we voting NTA. Voting, we voting NTA.
Trillions of dollars has been spent on national security, yet we do not feel safe in our very homes. More than election goodies, this country needs to vote for leadership with a proven track record to bring down crime. This April 28th, place your X by the lighthouse. Vote for the NTA and Gary Griffith. Look for the NTA symbol. Make sure your X is placed well within the box. Do not cross any lines. And let us get to work at feeling safe again.
Yeah, baby, you know it's all about NTA. Here we go. Somebody say NTA, 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 NTA. Let it go blue. We vote in NTA. Go blue. NTA is the way. Go blue. Gary Griffith got the plan. Go blue. So let us save our nation. No. NT, NT, we vote in NTA. Voting, voting, we vote in NTA. Voting, voting, we vote in NTA. Voting, we vote in NTA.
This is Gary Griffith. On April 28th, a vote for Marshall Walker is a vote for me. A vote for the NTA is a vote for leadership, accountability, management, and measurement of performance. On April 28th, place your X by the lighthouse and let us begin transforming Diego Martin West.
Yeah, baby, you know it's all about NTA. Here we go. Somebody say NTA, 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 NTA. Let it go blue. We vote in NTA. Go blue. NTA is the
Roadmap for National Transformation. The National Transformation Alliance presents a bold roadmap for Trinidad and Tobago's future. This integrated national strategic plan brings together security, economic growth, infrastructure, and governance into one unified vision, built for progress, built for people. Who is the NTA? Our vision is simple: a just, secure, and prosperous Trinidad and Tobago. Our mission? To transform governments, diversify the economy, reform education, empower communities, and lead with ethics and transparency. We promise leadership you can trust, a nation where opportunity and justice are one for all. Beyond a manifesto. We go beyond political manifestos. This is not about 5-year promises. It's a long-term blueprint, constantly evolving to meet national needs. Transformation is not a slogan. It's a shift in how we lead, plan, and serve. Our transformation strategies. We've identified 8 critical pillars, from education and strong institutions to safety, digitalization, economic growth, and effective planning. Each strategy supports the other, building a strong, stable, and future-ready Trinidad and Tobago. People and society development. We are investing in people. That means education reform, youth entrepreneurship, community-based development, and strong family support systems. Our society thrives when our families, youth, and communities are equipped to lead. Safety and security. Your safety is our highest priority. We'll modernize law enforcement, reform our courts, and protect communities with data-driven strategies, youth intervention, and stronger border and cybersecurity. Everyone deserves to feel safe, at home, at work, and on the streets. Economic transformation. We'll drive economic growth through innovation, SME development, and a just transition to renewable energy. Our focus includes trade, tourism, agriculture, and the green, blue, and orange economies, creating jobs and resilience for tomorrow. A call to action. The time for talk is over. The NTA is a call to action, a new vision, a united effort, and a better tomorrow. Together, let's build a Trinidad and Tobago that is secure, respected, and thriving. Roadmap for National Transformation. The National Transformation Alliance presents a bold roadmap for Trinidad and Tobago's future. This integrated national strategic plan brings together security, economic growth, infrastructure, and governance into one unified vision. Built for progress, built for people. Who is the NTA? Our vision is simple: a just, secure, and prosperous Trinidad and Tobago. Our mission? To transform governments, diversify the economy, reform education, empower communities, and lead with ethics and transparency. We promise leadership you can trust, a nation where opportunity and justice are one for all. Beyond a manifesto. We go beyond political manifestos. This is not about 5-year promises. It's a long-term blueprint, constantly evolving to meet national needs. Transformation is not a slogan. It's a shift in how we lead, plan, and serve. Our transformation strategies. We've identified 8 critical pillars, from education and strong institutions to safety, digitalization, economic growth, and effective planning. Each strategy supports the other, building a strong, stable, and future-ready Trinidad and Tobago. People and society development. We are investing in people. That means education reform, youth entrepreneurship, community-based development, and strong family support systems. Our society thrives when our families, youth, and communities are equipped to lead. Safety and security. Your safety is our highest priority. We'll modernize law enforcement, reform our courts, and protect communities with data-driven strategies, youth intervention, and stronger border and cybersecurity. Everyone deserves to feel safe, at home, at work, and on the streets. Economic transformation. We'll drive economic growth through innovation, SME development, and a just transition to renewable energy. Our focus includes trade, tourism, agriculture, and the green, blue, and orange economies, creating jobs and resilience for tomorrow. A call to action. The time for talk is over. The NTA is a call to action, a new vision, a united effort, and a better tomorrow. Together, let's build a Trinidad and Tobago that is secure, respected, and thriving.
Good afternoon, everyone. And before we get started, I just want to invite my husband to start with a word of prayer.
Good evening. O Holy Father, Almighty and all-powerful, Creator and possessor of all things, forgive us our trespasses. May your mercy and grace be upon us as we seek to glorify you in our actions. We thank you, O Holy Father, for all you have done, all you are doing, and all you will do in our lives. May you, O merciful Father, watch over this gathering and each and every person. May you go before us and ordain each and every step. May you give us comfort in these times of challenge and strengthen and keep us by your mighty right hand. May you guide the tongues of each speaker, and may the fruit of these conversations create change within our country. I ask these requests and give you thanks in Jesus' mighty name. Amen. Amen.
Amen. Okay, so this is supposed to be a conversation led by you, right? So I'm going to take this off very soon. My daughter found a dog. Oh, Lord, see. I think I'm too short for this. So guys, I am Marsha Walker. For those of you who are not aware, I am your NTA candidate for Diego Martin West. And we wanted to give an opportunity to the Westmoorings community and environs, at one last meeting just before we go to the polls on Monday. Any questions you guys have? I mean, I am quite available by cell phone. So most of you, I know Robert, I'm seeing you guys in the stands, and I know most of you. I know your cell phones. You guys know me, and we message from time to time. But we did want to give that final opportunity. The political leader is walking in St. Joseph, where he might be finishing just about now, and he will join us at 7 p.m. I think he's doing a phenomenal job at being everywhere at the same time. Just to give you guys an idea of what his Saturday looked like, he walks from 9 o'clock in St. Joseph because, of course, he's a candidate. And then when he was finished walking, he walks from like 9 to 4. He walks the whole thing. It's just really crazy. And then, this Saturday he started in Point Fortin. So he started in Point Fortin, then went to walk in St. Joseph, and then he flew down to my motorcade, because I had a motorcade throughout the length and breadth of Digger Martin West. And he still made time to just finish. So he is really, really, really pushing and trying to be everywhere for every candidate. And I think, I don't want to, obviously I'm biased, he's my political leader, but I don't think there is any political leader right now that has that kind of work ethic, that kind of physical strength and ability to just be literally everywhere. And I personally think that is very important in terms of leadership, that physical ability politics is not easy. So you have to have that, can we ask the Digger Martin Central candidate to turn his mic off? He's very enthusiastic. I appreciate the support. I do think that is actually something that you should look out for in terms of political leaders who still have that strength to be able to. Let's not pretend running a country is not easy, But again, I don't really want to speak too much. I do see some faces that have joined that I do not know from before. I take for granted the fact that I've been walking for the last 6 years. So unlike many candidates, this is not my first election, and I could have gotten a safe seat, but I chose Digger Martin West regardless, because this is where I'm born and bred. So my husband is born and bred. This is where I love. So I do believe in building and building and building Digger Martin. And I do want to be a representative one day. So since 2019, I have been walking. So bit by bit, we have gotten telephone numbers over the last 6 years. So it's not really a new experience walking and touching hands and whatnot. So that is why a lot of constituents, we actually have a relationship now. But for those of you who do not know who I am and do not know, what I'm about, I am a wife and a mother. I am a housewife. I am a proud homemaker. I do believe in the family structure. I believe in being at home with my girls. I'm a homeschooling mom. I've been homeschooling for 12, 13 years now. She turned 16 in a few months. She's somewhere. I think she was taking care of her little sister. If she spoke, I think y'all would vote for me. She's amazing. I love her. I think she's like, I genuinely really, 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 really like her, just beyond the motherly love. I look at her as a 16-year-old. I remember back when I decided to homeschool, people were like, are you crazy? It wasn't a fad then, and I look back, and so I am definitely an advocate for homeschooling. In particular, I'm actually an advocate for Christian education. We are devout Christians, so that is something that we believe heavily in giving our children a Christian education. And at 16 years old, just about to turn 16, I look at her and I'm just totally blown away by who she is and the comfort with which she serves Jesus, in such a kind of crazy time. And she does it in a way that inspires me because she still is so respectful and everything. So maybe she'll show up. I don't know. Babe, where is she? Oh, she went to Super Farm, their favorite place. So she'll be back soon, and maybe y'all can talk to her. Do you guys want me to? There are some things that I do have that I would like to say, but I know that when politicians start to talk and y'all kind of feel like y'all are being spoken to, and I don't want that to be the case. So if you have questions, please, you feel free, you lead the conversation. Do you guys have any questions? Or do you want me to start and then you will, ask questions based on what I say? You look like you have a question though. You don't? I feel like your face is so engaged. Is it that you are like me that just has a very engaging face? So I'm going to be looking at you all the time because you're so comfortable to look at. You are. Okay, well, maybe I'll look at her because she's there like my number one supporter. Dude, I brought a dress for her and I said, because she was here, of course, because we're in a park. So she was using full opportunity and she's stinky. And I brought a dress hoping that she would, play the part. But there. Okay, so I want to address some things that I think a lot of people, based on the conversations and the questions that I get on WhatsApp. I'm proud to say that I answer every WhatsApp message. I have answered every WhatsApp message. You're going to change. Okay, no problem. Okay, say hi on mic very quickly.
Hello.
Yes. I'm proud to say that is something that I boast about, my accessibility, no matter what. I do sometimes answer at 3 o'clock in the morning, I admit. So, just letting you all know, if I become MP, you'll have to be very accustomed to getting 3 a.m. messages. And I think that's because that's kind of like when it's quiet and you're finished. Well, first of all, I do homeschool, right? And my family, I make no apologies, they come first. So when I'm finished with the girls and I'm finished with my husband and I'm finished with the day and, they're just, you want to talk to Wassa or whatever, it has to happen during the day, right? So that's kind of when I take a nap and then I wake up and I go, okay, and I see all my messages and I get to them one by one by one. And, for those of you who have ever tried, even condominiums, fixing they had a drain that looked more like a forest. And, if I can't get it done, I'd like to say that I'm an honest politician. I know that doesn't seem like it balances, but yes, I know. But if I can't get it done, what I will say is I can't get it done, There's something I tell people all the time, is we're not going to fix Diego Martin West in one term, but you must know, you must have a sense, if you're fair, of course, there's a red till you die kind of ridiculousness that you can't change. But if you're fair, you'd know that I'm trying, that I'm getting there, that we're working together and getting it done, so you give a second term or not. But I've also said, if I've disappeared on you, a politician should have one chance and one chance alone to fool you, because we have 5 years, and I believe that every single seat should be a swing seat, it should be a marginal seat. If someone is not serving you, vote them out. It's that simple, and that includes me. If someone is not serving you, vote them out. Diego Martin West, let's get into some facts and figures. And this is very, very important, particularly for Westmoorings. And when I say Westmoorings, I mean the greater Westmoorings. I'm a numbers person. My husband is a project manager, so he's very into numbers and timelines, and so that is probably why we've not stopped for 6 years collecting telephone numbers and counting the vote. So we don't go for crowds, we don't go for any of it. We go for counting the vote. Very, very methodical. That is just how we work. There are 29,000 voters in Diego Martin West. From independents, PNM has only ever gotten 10,000 at max. There are times they get 7,000. I would imagine that in a year like this, they're probably going to get about 7,000 because we all are absolutely fed up of them. Exactly, right? So there's the vote out issue. There is the vote out issue. I would be honest, in 2015, I did not vote because even though I wanted PNM out, I did not believe on my ballot sheet that there was somebody for which I could vote. It was Philip Alexander at the time. Exactly. So my choice was between Keith Rowley and Philip Alexander in 2015. I stayed home. That's the bottom line. I stayed home. So I'm not asking... I don't think it's sustainable to simply vote out. I think that has not served us well in our country, where we just kind of vote out PNM and then they laugh at us and they say, okay, well, we'll just wait 5 years and then we'll be back in 5 years. I think we need to go beyond this desperation of voting out PNM, and we need to vote in somebody. So I've said to people all the time, first of all, let's get past party politics. I mean, as a politician, we use a party as our vehicle for change. But as citizens, I genuinely believe that we need to get past party politics. And every single citizen, you need to see who's on your ballot paper, get to know that person, get to know, has that person been around, or have they just popped up in my neighborhood for election time? Have they been there? Do they really understand all our problems? Are they accessible? I mean, if you cannot get through to your candidate in election time, you cannot get through to them when they get in office, right? There are things that you need to look for. Put party politics aside, and let's put the best 41 individuals inside the parliament. Once we know that we have 41 good individuals inside of parliament, then the rest will take care of itself. And so that is a message that I've carried from since 2019. Forget which party they represent. Go and find out who is the best representative. Get to know them. Ask them hard questions. Ask them hard questions. And that's why, for me, it's very important that you have an opportunity, not for me to just talk, but, step out of yourselves and ask hard questions. Because if I cannot answer your hard questions, then I don't deserve a vote. And as I said, I think we need to bypass party politics and get 41 good individuals inside of parliament. So I didn't finish the point with the 29,000. So we have 10,000 PNM votes, right? And as I said, that is actually not even a Red Army base, red till it die kind of figure. That is just a sort of number that on average they may get. We explained that this year that number is probably going to be very, very low. That means there are some 19,000 people. I don't know if you guys remember 2007 and 2010, but I would particularly look at 2007 because people like to talk about a split in vote thing, and if it was 3 people and whatever. In 2007, UNC did actually have a representative, so it was not a 2-horse race. And so again, I'm only talking Diego Martin. What you saw was 52 votes for UNC. At the time, it was COP, and COP got something like 5,000 votes, right? So there was no Kamala mania at the time. Don't let anybody fool you. There was no Kamala mania in 2007. The people of Diego Martin West, and that's why I say Westmoorings in particular, and the greater Westmoorings, you guys hold a really important role because you represent what our political leader calls the bridge constituency. You are not PNM and you are not UNC. You do not resonate with anybody in that kind of party way. You just don't. And so when the COP and Rocky Garcia came on board, you found yourself with somebody that you thought you could vote in. Because again, Diego Martin West is not a vote out culture. So even as much as they hate Keith Rowley, you guys are not going to vote in Philip Alexander in 2015. You just won't. Because voting out is not good enough for Diego Martin West. And I hear you, and I think that is why y'all are such a special constituency and why I'm still here after 3 elections, right? So we need to move past, okay, this is not a PNM safe seat, because I know that you guys feel as though your vote's not going to count because it's so much of a PNM safe seat. Can my vote really count? And that is the reason I'm explaining to you the numbers so that you can see how your vote counts. There are 19,000 available votes. 19,000 available votes. So in 2010, when Rocky Garcia came some 800 or 600 short, it wasn't because it was a 2-horse race, and that's why I went back to 2007 to show that all it was that momentum of Rocky. Year after year after year, election after election, COP was building ground. And I'm explaining that history and I'm explaining those numbers because I want you to know that in this area, you guys have the numbers to not just vote PNM out, but I believe vote a good alternative in. There are 12,000 numbers here, the number game. Hi, Pip, Uncle Pip. There are some 12,000 in, what I would call that sort of COP. Well, it's called a polling division. You're getting real politics lessons here today. So it's there. I don't believe in pipe dreams. I don't believe in the whole hype of it. And for those who just joined, you know, my husband is my campaign manager. He's a project manager, and we count the votes. We've been counting the votes for this last 6 years, and the votes are there. So don't let anyone tell you that you're wasting your vote voting for this third party, voting for a smaller party. So that's one. Any questions on that one? Y'all are a real quiet crowd. Y'all just want me to talk to y'all whole night? Really? No, you know, here's the thing. No. Well, so there are two things. Two things with that one. I don't actually hold to the opinion that if you don't vote, you don't get to complain. Because, again, in 2015, I didn't vote. So then I'd be a hypocrite. Because I didn't think that I had an alternative. You gave me Philip Alexander and Keith Rowley on my ballot paper, and I just didn't see that either of them was an option. So I think that it was in my right to be able to say none of the above. So if you do feel that there is no option, then don't vote. I ran under UNC in 2020, and I walked the length and breadth of Diego Martin, and all I heard was, I love you, I'm not going to vote for Kamala. I love you, I'm not going to vote for Kamala. Again, that is within your right. If you believe that the two options presented to you are not options that you want to vote for, it is within your right to withhold your vote. Is it a sustainable option? It definitely isn't, which is why after I felt that there wasn't an option in 2015, I became the option. I said, okay, something has to give. So I got into it, you know. I said, okay, I can't keep complaining, I can't keep this, and then just don't vote. So we decided to really get in frontline politics in 2020. So as I said, I do think that this time, if you ask me, you know, I think my political leader is somebody that has a track record of standing up to corruption. And I want to touch on corruption just for a little bit. But just to finish the point of the non-voter, you know, I do think this time around there is a real viable alternative. There is a real viable alternative in Gary Griffith and Marsha Walker. So if you ask me this time, you have no reason to stay away, you know. But even with the 19,000, we don't need all 19,000 to come out, right? We just need a 12,000. I think we just need a 10,000 because everybody's doing this when I said PNM, right? So I think they'll probably get a 7,500. So I just wanted to go through those numbers with you because I know that you feel as though, will my vote matter? So if the rain falls, if you're not feeling too well, any little thing, you'll kind of go, it's a PNM safe seat anyway. Suzette Lau wrote a piece maybe about 2 days ago, and she said the seats to look for is Diego Martin. And I think maybe because she understood the numbers. This seat in particular is actually more winnable for the NTA than some of the marginals. Because I showed you the 2007 figure, right? UNC got like 50-something votes, 52 votes or whatever it is. There's no UNC base here to say, well, we have to convince a UNC person. All we need is the 19,000 persons who generally do not want PNM. They're anti-PNM, but they don't really feel like they have an option. All we need are those people. So I don't need to convince the PNM base. You don't have to worry about whether or not they're ever going to change from being PNM. You don't have to worry about that. You just need to make sure that you and your neighbors and the wider of Westmoorings comes out. That is what you need to do. And just like that, we would bring home Diego Martin West. Let's talk about what it means if we bring home Diego Martin West. It means that for the first time, we don't only have two political parties inside of the parliament. And we don't have what would look like a people's partnership where you take a lot of different political parties, but you rarely form one party where you have to toe the line of this one political leader. There is nothing in our constitution that mandates we have to have two parties. I can go in there and constantly be the negotiating factor between that government and that opposition. So you don't have to worry about how does it work. Here's the other question that I get asked all the time. If I win my seat and I'm the only person that wins my seat, so it's 2020 and you have the one, who will you give it to? Did anybody have that question? Because I see somebody laughing there. So you had that question, did you? Yeah. Because I'm on the ground, so I know the questions that everybody has. Let me tell you who I'll give it to. There is nothing to say I need to give it to any party. There is nothing to say. And hopefully the situation with Cho Chung and Keith Rowley proves to everybody that you don't have to be, the Prime Minister doesn't have to be the political leader. The law says that any one of the 41 persons can become the Prime Minister. And you form a government with two people, a Prime Minister and Attorney General. So I'm not sure that I want to be Prime Minister. I'd rather Gary wins his seat and then he becomes Prime Minister. So I would look at the 41 candidates that have won. I mean, let's say Gary didn't win his seat for whatever reason and I am the one. Maybe I'll choose to be Prime Minister. Because as at right now, I can't necessarily see any of the candidates that I would want to give that role over to. But I will bring my Attorney General through the Senate. So I would probably, we have a lot of good people. I'm thinking Dinesh Rambley, maybe Timothy Hamel-Smith. But the point is, I don't have to choose an Attorney General that is even politically aligned. I can find the best senior counsel out there and bring that person through the Senate. And just like that, we formed a government with a Prime Minister and Attorney General that's actually the most unifying government that we would have ever had. That is the real version of a coalition government. And that's the real definition of that sort of non-party political government. I would have 16 Senate seats available to me. I can bring my Minister of National Security through there. I can bring my Minister of Education. I might actually give Timothy Hamel-Smith the Minister of Education. I can choose the Speaker of the House. I think I'll choose Anita Haynes for that. She hasn't asked. She doesn't know. She'll hear it live that I'll choose Anita Haynes. But the point is, what we can do for the first time is not give positions based on a party loyalty. We can sit and we can say, who is the best person to be the Minister of National Security? Who is the best person to be the Minister of Education? Who is the best person, the most qualified person to be the Minister of Health? And you can bring all those ministries, all those key ministries through the Senate. And just like that, we would make history. We will not have a PNM government or a UNC government. We would have a real government with people with merit, not with party cards, not with people who are towing a party line. And so this is why, and I said Diego Martin West was key to the political landscape in 2020 because you guys held the key to whether Keith Rowley continued as Prime Minister or not, Now you guys hold the key to whether we can genuinely have a government of real unity, a government where the opposition isn't just opposing for opposing's sake, or the government isn't saying, well, I don't care what you guys think. I'm going to do whatever I want anyway because we have the majority. We'll pass the bill, and so be it, So I hope, and I can't drive home enough how important Diego Martin West is. And again, the reason Diego Martin West is also very important is because you guys have the numbers. You think of Saparia. I don't even know why PNM will even bother send a candidate there. Because UNC would win with like 70% of the vote. So you would have to take somebody who is like UNC till they die. You would have to convert them. Similarly with some of the PNM seats. In Diego Martin West, it is not that kind of seat. PNM does not win with a 70%. They don't win with like 20,000 out of the 29,000. And that is something that I cannot say enough, I cannot drive home enough as to how important you guys are, because you guys genuinely represent that swing seat. So that's the two questions. Oh, yeah, perfect. Ha. Okay. So this is one seat. When you okay, so 29,000, 10,000, 10,000, and that is actually a high number. So that is something. So they don't vote. So let me go back to it, just for those who just came in. Very quickly, no, but it's easy to go back. In Diego Martin West, the UNC doesn't have a base. So it's not a situation where you're sort of like pulling UNC and pulling PNM and trying to make something up. In 2007, and that's why I use 2007 versus 2010, because 2010 you kind of had like this wave, Kamla, whatever, and so people would try to use that in Diego Martin West, but that was not the case in Diego Martin West. There was no Kamla mania in Diego Martin West. You're shaking your head because I know I voted in 2010 for Rocky Garcia, for COP, not for UNC. I tell people all the time, the only time I ever voted for UNC, I was the candidate. Diego Martin West is the, you know, there's a saying, if something had a face, Diego Martin West is, if swing constituency had a face. We are a third party constituency. We've always wanted a third party. When NAR was there, we voted NAR, and that was the first time that Diego Martin saw somebody other than PNM. In 2007, UNC and COP and PNM were on that ballot paper for Diego Martin West. UNC got some 50-something votes. Rocky Garcia got 5,000 and something votes. Yeah, you see? And that is why they don't want to use this kind of information and data to you, because it's easier for you to feel as though your vote doesn't matter. That is why I drive home the data all the time. Every time I talk to somebody, I drive home the data, because if you know the data, then you will understand that your vote matters in Diego Martin West. It is not a PNM safe seat. It is the very definition of a third constituency seat. People in Diego Martin West, people in Westmoorings, people in Goodwood Park, people in, I could call Glencoe. I know where my votes are. Now, I said that in the beginning. We count our votes, individually count our votes. So I know who I'm speaking to, because I know for the last 6 years what is what, right? It's a very scientific, I'm not here selling pipe dreams. It's very scientific. We can bring this home. And we've run a very scientific campaign that is just, it's not fancy. It's very boring. Nobody likes numbers. But I think that's how you win. You know, the numbers, the boring hard work, counting your vote. So that is what it is. PNM, 29,000 votes are available. On any given day, PNM gets 10,000. And we estimate that all the hands that did that, they will get maybe 7,500 in this election. But even if they get 10,000, which is a high number, we still have 19,000. There are still 19,000 available. And that's why I said in 2010, when Rocky came that close to like 600 votes, it was either 800 or 600 votes short. It wasn't a Kamla thing. It was a Rocky thing. COP had been building over the last 2 or 3 elections. I think that was his 3rd election. I've studied all the numbers. I've gone through Diego Martin, studied all the numbers. And it was like his 3rd election. So he had been, just like me, quietly walking the ground, working the ground, talking to every single person, year after year after year. He didn't just show up for election time. And so the 5,000 grew because he was on an upward trajectory of votes. In local government election, I would have closed the margin that I closed. So I went up in 2020, and then I went up in 2023. The margin in 2023, I closed that. Again, so we're here at 2025. It's a very scientific campaign. That's what it is. So you have the wave of vote PNM out that is in our favor. PNM persons, my husband employs guys from La Puerta, I'm from Big Yard. So the PNM safe seats, you hear it. You hear the safe, when I say seats, sorry, like the divisions, the polling divisions. Some of them may not vote out, like they're not prepared to not vote. They're prepared to not vote. They may not vote for you, because they didn't reach that hurdle yet. They don't know that they could be disloyal to Williams and give somebody else a vote. But they won't vote. You would have seen that with Amory Brown when they hated Darrell Smith, the executives and stuff. They weren't prepared to vote somebody else. But Darrell Smith, the figures were low because they said, nah, I can't vote for him. They were mad. They were mad at the screening committee. They were mad at leadership. So they didn't vote. And I could give some PNM bacchanal internally, but the point is, the figures will be low for PNM. That is what the data suggests. So we absolutely have an opportunity to bring this seat home. Yeah, that cleared that up. Yeah, awesome. Any other questions? I've been speaking for like 35 minutes, dude. You're laughing because I feel like from the time I answered the question, from the time I said it, it was like, you know. Okay, so then let me talk a little bit about my plans if there are no other questions. No other questions. Okay. Yeah. So let me talk a little bit because Gary's gonna come at 7, right? And he will go through, I guess, like broader, you know, the if I'm prime minister kind of questions. I do know some of them, which is why I was able to explain NTA's philosophy in terms of like that real unifying government, because I know that is a concern on a national level. You know, Gary, what will you do? You know, where will you give your vote? He'll probably ask, where do you want me to give my vote to? But I just showed you in terms of the constitutionality of it, we don't have to actually give our vote to PNM or UNC. Were you here for that one? No. All right, so again, very, very quickly, because those are the two big questions, right? Does my vote matter? So the data to show it's not a PNM safe seat, and what will we do if we had one vote and we had to choose to give it to PNM or UNC? We will give it to neither. You know, we can bring our government through the Senate, and we could if UNC had a good, you know, somebody. Off the top of my head, I know there are good UNC members. They will not come through the House. They'll come through the Senate. Rushton Parry. I would love to see Rushton Parry as the Minister of Trade. I think he will do really, really well as the Minister of Trade. As I said, I would probably bring Anita Haynes. Those two are you know, class acts. I would like to see Kyle Taklal sing somewhere. He's like a brilliant attorney, maybe Attorney General, but as I said, there are definitely loads of good qualified lawyers that could be Attorney General. I think Penelope Beckles, I think she is somebody that isn't so like ridiculously PNM that she won't work with somebody. So maybe there might be a space for Penny on our, you know, unity government. So that is the basic question. We don't need to give it to anybody. There's nothing that says we have to give it to somebody. Oh my, yeah. Okay, so a government is formed with two persons, a prime minister and an attorney general. That is all you need to form a government. So that's why I'm saying you could bring people through the Senate. So let me, very, very quickly, they will vote on my bills. That's all they do. Because the government of the day brings a bill to Parliament. That's what Parliament is for, right? We are the legislative body. So we're not about box trains. We're not it's not local government. We are the people that set the policies. We are the people that run the laws of the country. So, you know, do we need a bill that will help us catch criminals? Do we need a bill that will reform education? Do we need, you know, hey, let me tell you what I might do. I might say, hey, we need constitutional reform. And if y'all want anything done in this country for UNC and for PNM, y'all better pass my bill. So there becomes that real negotiating power, because the two of them have 20-20. They can't get anything done without me. They can't. They can't get anything done without my vote. So we will bring the bill. My one seat will bring the bills. I will lay the order paper out in Parliament and tell you this is what's coming. Right? And so the bills and everything come from the Attorney General and whatnot. So that's why I'm saying I will bring my Attorney General. And that's why you could form a government with two people, the Prime Minister and the Attorney General. And I will bring my Attorney General through the Senate, because I would have 16 seats, 16 Senate seats available to me. So I can bring all the key ministries, you know, Ministry of Agriculture can come through the Senate. So we can literally say, put out resumes, interview people, You don't have to have a party card. And we say these are, I mean, but you have Ministry of Finance. I mean, off the top of my head, I'm just thinking, those really, really core, because you have 16. Could you name 16? The 16 core ministries we will put out there, and we will bring people of merit. Nobody that, financed us. First of all, nobody financing us, so we don't have that problem. We don't have that problem. We don't have the kickback problem. We don't have any of it. We don't have to say state boards to friends and family and all kind of shippiness. We don't. And there's nothing that these two big powerhouses with their 20 seats could do, because what are you going to do with your 20 seat fight between the two of them? We'll call another election. That's all. That's all. That's also why I think Gary's, people see it as arrogance. I come across that way as well. But to change Trinidad and Tobago, to really fix Trinidad and Tobago, I think you do need a certain level of, what are you going to do? You need that level of. What's my top priority? Oof. Okay, I do want to see it. Yeah, so I think, okay, so I'm going to talk personally for me. I grew up in Big Yard. That would be, I always say, I laugh and say it's where Courts and KFC doesn't deliver. It's the politically correct way of saying, it's like a hot spot or whatever, right? And then I went to St. Joseph's Convent. So I saw a different side of life. That is where I first understood the benefits of being a homemaker. I remember I played football in school, and that's where Uncle Pip gone? Yes, Uncle Pip used to call me Marvelous M, Marvelous Marsha. And I played in the first ever female intercall in Trinidad and Tobago. And my parents weren't there, not because they weren't interested, but they were struggling to make ends meet. And so often, what you see is not a lack of, they're not neglectful parents. A lot of them are not neglectful parents. They are just so busy surviving. I have seen family members, aunts and uncles, and I want to generalize it so that no one picks up, leave the house 6 o'clock in the morning to catch a shift. Who's getting your children ready when you leave the house at 6 o'clock in the morning? Up at 4 o'clock, making sure that the food is cooked and everything. But after that, what you're doing is depending on your 6 and 7-year-old to get themselves dressed and go to school on their own. I have, before politics, so let me give you a little bit about myself, why I got into politics. I wrote a children's book because I guess that has always been my passion. My passion has been to share anything that I can share in terms of my journey, how I got out, quote unquote, and made it in life. I was a general manager by age 20. I mean, I could tell you stories of my interview. I basically said, when the boss said, why do you even want a job? I went in my convent uniform, and he said, well, clearly you're smart, you passed for convent, And I said, it's not that I want a job, but I can't have a good summer if I don't have a job, because on any given day, my mom doesn't even have money to give me taxi to go to school, money to go to school. So I need a job. I really need that job. I said, but what I can tell you is that I will be the hardest worker that you will ever, ever, ever see. And from then on, that was it. I've always, and anybody, any one of my bosses, anybody, they will tell you, if you give Marsha a chance, she will burn the midnight oil to learn what she needs to learn, to do what she needs to do, to make sure that you're not disappointed that you gave her a chance. And that's really just been, for me, I've worked with women in Celots. I've worked with schools from Guayari all the way to Lavantil, trying to inspire young people. I had an 8-year-old girl come up to me and say she was raped. And I said to her, first of all, legally I have to report it. I said, but we will not let you go. We will not let you go. We will be here. We will work with you. We will walk hand in hand. And I think that was the first time that I realized I no longer want to do NGO work. Because the politicians, the only places that you need NGOs are places that don't work. Do you think Singapore has loads of NGOs? Who has more NGOs, Haiti or Singapore? And so I realized that I had to get involved in politics. I had to get involved in policy making, in really having those who are passing laws understand what the less affluent communities are going through. I had a young man come and meet me and he's dead now, believe it or not, but he came and meet me in 2020, and he said, "Miss, I leave my gun home, you know, because I respect you." And that is their version of a gated community, understanding what they go through. I also think that is why I am the best representative for Diego Martin West, because I think Diego Martin West has two very different cultures, two different economies, and I understand both. And I want to bridge that gap. So for me, I think that is critical. I would like to see, I was the PTA president at Arbor when Jessie went to preschool. And I would like to see, you know, like a school like Arbor partner with maybe a school like Point Cumana government. You know, those PTAs partner and help and learn and buddy. I would like to see very similar to how we send our kids to, you know, my daughter's going to spend summer in Germany. Maybe we can bring a kid to spend a summer in Westmoorings. It sounds like right there, but when we bring kids home sometimes, we always have kids in our house, and they've never had a pancake. You would not believe how many kids come by us to play, and they've not eaten for the day, and it's 4 or 5 o'clock. You know, I go to the grocery sometimes with so in mind, because I know what he likes and I know what he doesn't like. So his palate hasn't, you know, adapted to my kids and their Greek yogurt and honey. So he may just want some sausages. So I go to the grocery, and when I'm shopping at Price Mart, where we have sausages for X and, you know, granola bar for Y and whatnot, you know, if they get a cut and they're walking up the hill, and you know, and I know their mom's not home because the mom's working or whatever, you know, we're there. Well, Sarah's always outside, so I can see and I can say, "Hey, you know, why are you crying? I got a cut." I could bring him inside and stuff. And I have seen I have seen people that we have brought with us, and I know that with leadership that genuinely understands, we can transform the less affluent areas. And the truth is, if we transform those areas, then we do transform the rest of Trinidad and Tobago. When we transform their lives, then we don't have to worry about crime. That's the bottom line. Whether we like it or not, the injustice that they feel impacts the quality of life that we have. We have some of the most talented hairdressers, the most talented mechanics, the most talented tradesmen, but for some strange reason, we thought that education meant math and English. I've never taught my daughter to read, by the way. She's an avid reader now, but we didn't do that. You know, if you wanted to, so she was selling muffins and stuff. You know, you need to be able to make money. That's, if you ask me. You don't need to be able to read and write, just make money. Make money, know how to balance your accounts and whatnot. We don't teach that in schools. I mean, I did financial literacy for some schools in Diego Martin, actually, before politics. And the children did not understand what a budget was. They didn't understand the concept of it. My 5-year-old, her grandmother came home and told a story that she took her to Super Farm. And she went to the cashier and she said, "Excuse me, how much is this?" And then she went, because she knows how to ask, "How much is this?" She went back to Grandma. "Grandma, this is so. Is this within my budget? Can I have it?" Because she understands budgets. So if we're going into Pennywise, she can choose, "How many items do I have? One?" I said, "Well, it depends." I said, "It depends on the cost. So this is your budget. And if you choose one item within that budget, then you get one item. You may want 2 items that are still within the budget. So it's not actually how many items can you have, but it's how much money can you spend." And so those are the things that my kids have. That's the benefit that they have that a lot of kids don't have. So I would definitely like to see the education system reformed. So Jessie, this is the 16-year-old. So I boasted in the beginning. Yes, come. So I boasted, for those of you who were here, I spent like my first 15 minutes ranting and raving about Jessie. No, so we've been homeschooling for the last 12 years. So she would be, yes, this is my pride and my joy. And she's kind of like now a poster child for homeschooling, you know. So I was telling them in the beginning that when I started, I mean, homeschooling wasn't a big fad then. So everybody's like, are you mad? Like, what? You're not teaching her to read? Why can't she spell her name at 5? And I'd just be like, do y'all know in the Netherlands, they don't even learn to read until 7. What is up with y'all? How about we compare them when they reach 20 and 30? You know, what's the point of being able to read at 2 and then they drop out of school by 15? We have this thing totally messed up, you know. Missy went and changed. And this is the youngest. So I was talking about, you know, Jesse in the beginning, because you were saying something. Oh, so I homeschool. What was the question you asked again? Jesse just distracted me. Yeah, so she did. So she went to Arbor as in preschool. When it was time to make the decision whether we were going into, you know, were we staying with this? The one thing I knew, that's actually why I said maybe I'll consider Timothy Hamel-Smith as Minister of Education, because I do think he has a really good grasp on what the education system should look like. Yes? Okay, say hi.
Vote for my mommy.
That was not a paid political advertisement. Yeah, true. Yes. Okay, y'all could go sit now. Go play. Okay, just now. You'll sing the song after. She likes the song. I think she's a Gary Griffith groupie. It's ridiculous. Like, it's sometimes embarrassing. So I do really hold education close at heart. Some people would say between education and maybe Minister of Social Services, I guess, because again, I do have a heart for working with moms. So I did a project, and all of this is long before politics, right? Again, I only got into politics because I did feel as though NGOs would be spinning top in mud if the politicians didn't get it right. And that's really the only reason. I tell people all the time I'm not a good politician because I'm not very good at telling you what you want to hear just to get a vote. So, you know, I'll say, well, keep your vote. You know, I am like that. So because this is who I am, this is what I believe in, and either, you know, but I'm not going to pretend to be one thing one way, pretend to be something the other way, say, well, this, say that, just to get your vote. You know what I mean? Well, I started off by saying we're devout Christians. So before answering to y'all, I have to go and answer to God as to how I've served anyway, you know? So if I lie to y'all and manipulate y'all and all of that, y'all kicking me out is worse than going to hell, you know, it's definitely not. So that sort of is the goal anyway, you know. So y'all are like chump change of God that I have to answer to. So it would be through social, you know, reform, you know. I believe in small and micro enterprise. So that is actually one of, so if you guys leave your cell phone numbers, I promise I'm not a nag, but from time to time, I do send out broadcast messages. So I do send out things like when there's no water, when there's traffic and stuff like that. So I try not to be overly political. You know, again, I'm not a politician. I just genuinely want a better Trinidad and Tobago. It just is. I've seen too much. I mean, I invite people all the time to come and walk with me on the campaign trail. And you walk through some places in Trinidad and Tobago and you cry. I remember the first time I walked through Bagatelle in 2020, I turned to my husband and I cried in his arms so that the cameras wouldn't catch me and whatever, you know, but I cried and it took me a while to catch myself to go back and keep campaigning. We have spent and we have seen too much money pass through this country for people to be living the way that they live. I mean, you wonder if you're in some war-torn country when you walk through. I mean, I dare any of you guys to come on the campaign trail with me, and I bet you'd cry the same way. I don't know if, I mean, and I've grown up in Big Yard, and I cried. I still didn't even see as bad as I saw on the campaign trail. You know, even, so, well, I've been walking with other, because we're such a small party, we kind of walk with each other and stuff. And so now I've seen even past Diego Martin, I had no idea there are places in St. Joseph that look the way that they look. And you just kind of go, this is absolute madness. And so that actually brings me to one of the other points that I wanted to just talk about very quickly, was corruption. I think more than manifesto promises, and I keep saying, people ask about our manifesto, and I have it. We actually played it. This is, it's there again. If you leave your WhatsApp, we can WhatsApp you the roadmap to transformation and whatnot. But what I think the biggest thing that NTA is promising is leadership. I want to give you just one example of how poorly we have managed our country's resources. We boast of free education, right? We spend some $7 billion on education every year. So, just work that out over our country span. Do you know 1 in 4 adults, and they cannot read the word at? At is not a sight word. At is AT. It is exactly as it sounds. At. 1 in 4 adults in Trinidad and Tobago cannot read the word at. They cannot cope with basic reading and writing. And that is after $7 billion is spent on education every single year. We do not have a money problem in this country. We have a leadership problem in this country. Our deficit this year is projected to be about 5-point-something billion, right? Just over 5 billion. Do you know that it's estimated that through corruption we lose conservatively $5 billion every year? $5 billion in corruption. And they say that's a conservative figure. A conservative figure of $5 billion is lost to corruption every single year. We do not have a money problem in this country. We have a corruption problem. We have a management problem. We have a leadership problem. We have a problem where party card holders get to be in charge of ministries and they rape the treasury. They rape the treasury. So we have a textbook, and everybody knows all the different scandals. That textbook committee is a scandal. That textbook committee is a scandal. You change 2 lines and then force parents to buy the new edition so that the authors can get money, can get paid. Every single thing in this country, every single policy decision in this country is designed with a financer in mind. It's designed with, how can I make money off of this? And that is why a young man, so I just spoke in Belmont, it's not my constituency, but again, we help out each other. And I spoke in Belmont yesterday, and day before yesterday, and he said, it's his first time voting, and he feels like everybody has a good game, everybody talks a good game, and I said, don't listen to what they're saying here in the election campaign. Go back to who they are before elections. That was my advice to him. It's because everybody has a speechwriter, except me. That's also something I tell people to look for. Look for what they're doing. Can they speak off the top of their heads? Can you see that it's coming from a speechwriter or something, because they're living it? But go back to who they are before politics. Who were they before politics? And the one thing that both Gary and myself have in common is that we were prepared to lose an income to stand up for what's right. Both of us can see that we didn't stay in a regime, sit, be quiet, toe the line, and continue to live and enjoy the benefits of the taxpayer. So to me, that's a big track record that you should be looking for. That's also why sometimes I say there's no good person in PNM, because, when people say, well, they have good people back and forth, I say, no, because when Keith Rowley was doing what he was doing, I never saw Penny or Amory stand up and say, this is madness, I quit. Nobody did it. They continue to take a salary every single month. Every single month. I question anybody's integrity if you could sit and watch things happen every single month and say nothing. Similarly, you would have seen Gary fight with both UNC and PNM. Both times he couldn't sit and just see what's going on and say nothing. That's why I do believe that he is the perfect person to stamp out corruption. I know of people who are on his team now and they make fun. Don't mind he didn't give me a gun license. Because that's not who he is. do you guys know Lee Kuan Yew? Singapore, famous Lee Kuan Yew. And, you know, he's known for saying, no favors for the boys now. There'll be no work for the boys. And I think that, and that's why I started with how we would form a truly unified government through the Senate. And that way, you know, it's like checks and balances, because UNC has their seats, PNM has their seats, we have the Senate, and everybody is sort of overlooking everybody. And because we have to stamp out corruption. So maybe education could take when you ask how would I transform or what would I like to see, I think corruption. In speaking now that, you know, even though I do have a heart for kids and family and stuff, if we stamp out corruption, everything works, you know. Well, we homeschool. I see the curriculum of my kids. I see the textbooks of my kids. Listen, they're so much better. They're so much better. Our curriculum is so much better. And it cost $3,000 for the whole year. And the whole curriculum. And this is the deluxe curriculum that comes with your puzzles. It comes with everything. If you need a scissors, it's come in the package. It's your deluxe package. Do you know it costs $10,000 per student every single, 10,000 per month? 10,000 per month. He knows the figures because I tell it to him nonstop. Oh, that's my husband. For those who just joined, that's my husband across there. My husband, my election agent, my campaign manager, my hang poster guy. So it costs $10,000 per child every month in our education system. But it cost me $3,000 in a curriculum. Well, how will we just take, and that's the big one. So if you have additional children, you just need to buy the extra workbook, right? So that's like a $10 US extra for each child. I tell people, well, how about we just dump everything that's going on in the education system, send everybody home, and let me just homeschool. It will be cheaper. It'll be cheaper. But then, how are you going to have the textbook racket? How are you going to have the pretend that you're renovating schools racket? Right? I mean, you look at the budget and stuff for renovating schools. Let me tell you a story, and you all think I'm joking. Walk into some of those government schools. There's a massive hole in the ground. It's wooden still. It's the original wood from 1960 whenever. And if the top class needs something from the bottom class, they just use a bucket and thing, you know, because they've gotten so accustomed to it. It's a massive hole in the ground. A massive hole. For SEA, I went to some of these schools and I asked them, you know, do you have fans and whatnot? They don't have air conditioning. They have a fan. I donated one fan. And it's 2 classes divided by a board. One fan divided by a board. Imagine you trying to teach and a board dividing you. We still there. We still there. That's where we are at $10,000 a month. We do not have a money problem. We have a corruption problem. For $10,000 a month, you know how much moms could stay home in Big Yard and mind their own children and teach their own children? We could do little pods. We could use community centers that are doing nothing right now and have little pods teaching them with $10,000 a month. So it's really a corruption problem. But yes, I see him. I saw him. So I'm going to you all have any other questions for me? Did I answer it? Yes. All right. So I'm going to pass you over to our political leader. Anybody here not voting in Digger Martin West? I'm speaking to only Digger Martin Westians. But Russell, come, let me just introduce you anyway. You all might know a friend in Digger Martin Central. I don't like to stand next to Russell. And Russell, we are streaming. And I am not in heels. I was about to run. Because, you know, you kind of look silly standing next to Russell. So this is our candidate for Digger Martin Central. Russell, hello. Say hi.
Hi, everyone. Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
So if you know people in Petty Valley, Diamond Vale, where are you? Rosslands, Alice Glen, Moncoco. So if you know anybody in the Digger Martin Central area, that's your candidate. Yeah. His claim to fame is well, apart from all his NGO work, he actually does a lot of NGO work, but he actually solved a flooding issue in Bamboo number 3. Yeah, so, well, you guys do have in Bayshore, so Shorelands, there's a little flooding challenge there. Nothing. Yeah, well, Cookreet. So vote for him so he could solve that Cookreet issue, because Cookreet falls in there. So you know when rain falls and we all have to stand up and line up in traffic for like 2 hours. So he's the man with a plan for flooding. Oh yeah, sure. Russell wants to talk because he's a real politician.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I just wanted to say something quickly. Marsha, what you have here is the best candidate you could get. Because I've worked with Marsha. I mean, we don't see eye to eye all the time. Well, literally don't see eye to eye. But Marsha is dedicated and committed. And together, I mean, I am going to take Digger Martin Central. Marsha is going to take here, West. Together, we will work together and solve the problems. We on the ground. Marsha is a real dedicated person. She's accessible. And your problems will be addressed and solved. And our political leader, Gary Griffith, made a really great choice in Marsha Walker. You have the best. And when you look on the table of what you have, with the people going up against Marsha, there's no comparison. Yes, we all have friends in all parties, and we have family. We're not saying no. But when you look on the table, Marsha Walker, Hans Devines, and Pep, who's down by you? I'm not sure. Yeah. I heard her speak the other night and it really didn't make sense. But the two candidates on the table really, when you look at their history and what they have done, judge Marsha for what she has done, not for what she says she's going to do. With that alone, you know where to put your X. Next to Marsha Walker and the NTA. Good night. Thank you.
That was also not a paid political advertisement. Okay. Yeah? Oh, yes, sure, absolutely. There's a question. I'm not hearing you. Uh-huh. So what I had said in the beginning was actually that is why we're so important, because our vision is to bring in people and state boards and ministers actually using, that sort of like resume, that merit system versus, party card holders and protecting, right? Which is the benefit, the real benefit of having 1 or 2 NTA persons inside of government. So yes, we will bring in forensic auditors. We are committed to stamping out corruption. We are. I'm not sure when you joined, but I would have spoken about our track record, especially Gary's track record, in terms of not being able to sit and just watch corruption happen. So that is the top of our priority before education, before flooding, before everything, is to stamp out corruption. We have to. I would have spoken about the $5 billion deficit and the fact that we do lose conservatively $5 billion, and that comes from the Office of the Procurement regulator. He would have spoken about how much money is lost every year, and it's conservatively $5 billion just in mismanagement of funds, which, that could take care of our deficit right there. I want to introduce, does that answer your question? I know Gary could also speak to some of the more national issues. I wanted to make sure and address Digger Martin West. So Gary could touch on that as well. Yes? I can't see you. Because there's okay, yes. I want to point out something. I know it may not look good for the stream, but you'll notice none of us are sitting on that, right? The person who set it up said, but you have to have a head table and you have to have chairs. And I said, but that's really not our style. It just isn't, Notice we call him Gary. Notice he came in. There was no fanfare. We really are a party full of people who just want to serve, who just genuinely want to better Trinidad and Tobago. And we have recognized that politics is sort of like the top way that we have to get involved. But we really are not about the blue lights and the fancy cars and the fancy spots and whatever. I want to introduce Gary by telling you all a story about him. By the time I'm done introducing Gary all over the country, everybody's going to know that you're a really bad hockey player. So I've known Gary since I am maybe 20-something years, now 25 years or something, right? A long time. You all know him as security. I know him as a horrible hockey player. But for some strange reason, even though he cannot play hockey, to save his life, he was the top goal scorer for a lot of years. I'm a goalkeeper, so I would pay attention to strikers. It's something that you do, right? And I think that it's easy to know why he was the top goal scorer, even though he had no skill. The hockey ball is something that has actually taken lives of people, right? So it's not something that people willingly dive behind or anything like that. You know, like in football, you have a good cross and you head the ball in. It's not something that anybody wants to do in hockey. But for some strange reason, Gary has absolutely no problem diving behind a hockey ball. When he's on a football field, a hockey field, or whatever field, a battlefield, he knows what the goal is. And he doesn't see his own personal safety or his own personal interests. He sees what is the end result. What do we need? We need to score a goal. I'm going to score a goal. And so be it, whatever happens. It just seems to be how he's made up. And that is why I know that, you know, when it came to making a decision, do I stay in the comfy, cozy Commissioner of Police, big fancy house and all the perks, or do I make a decision to stand up, speak up, and let the chips fall where they may? This first time in a long time that I'm working this closely with him. Don't mind trying to get me to come and play hockey again. Oh well, we'll see. But as a candidate now, watching him as a political leader, and I told you all, well, for those who were here, we started on time because he's my political leader and he is very mad at us if we do not come on time and start on time. That's the soldier in him. Where was I going? I can't even remember now. Hockey. Yeah, whatever. Right. Oh, so when he said, this is why I should probably have a speech answer. But when he spoke about, you know, Marsha, you know, come and be a candidate for Digger Martin West and whatnot, and I've watched him. That's where I was going. He is everywhere to every single one of us. He has walked with all his candidates 2-3 times. He's at every cottage meeting. He is literally campaigning, so he's walking his constituency, flying to Point Fortin, flying to Arima, flying back to Digger Martin. His commitment as a leader, there is no ivory tower leadership. There is no, well, you walked today, or you did this today. He is there. It's like a competition to see who could walk faster than him, walk more than him, keep up with him, be there earlier than him. He leads by example. He is on the ground, committed to each and every one of his candidates. And to watch him now, as I say, as a candidate, and then he's the political leader, I'm really, really, really very proud. It's like my big brother. I'm really very proud. We definitely don't see eye to eye. Russell, if you think we quarrel, you've never seen Gary and I. And my husband laughs at us. He says, oh, well, that's just how, I guess, you know, hockey, anybody ever play hockey, you know, you're like, you cuss on the field, you drink a beer later, kind of thing. But I am super proud to call him my political leader. And I think Trinidad and Tobago would be really fortunate to have him as the Prime Minister. So, help me welcome Captain Gary Griffith.
Let me go blue. Reporting NTA. Go blue. NTA.
Thank you, Marshall. Good evening to the residents of Westmoorings and the environs, to persons who are here, some of them from Digger Martin Central, Digger Martin West. Yes, I am not very, very skillful at hockey, but the only reason for this, just let me explain first before I get into what I want to say. Hockey is a right-handed sport. I'm a left-hander, and that kind of sums it up. So it's very difficult. It's like you're trying to bat. If you try to bat one way and you're forced to bat the other way. So hockey, I have to hold the stick like this. And it is very difficult for anybody who's a left-hander to play hockey because you have to hold the stick as a right hand. It's a right-handed game. But what she spoke about is that sport is something that is my first love, not national, not security, not law enforcement. And there's a reason for that. I was shortlisted as manager of the West Indies cricket team. I've been on the technical staff with the West Indies team at the World Cup. I've been on the technical staff with the national football team. I've been manager of Defence Force cricket, football, hockey, basketball team. As Marsha said, I was the highest goal scorer for several years in Trinidad and Tobago. My first game for Trinidad and Tobago, I actually scored a double against Puerto Rico, and then I never played again. So I have an average of 2 goals per game for Trinidad and Tobago. I think that's probably a record. But the reason why I'm so involved in sport is, and if all the sport that I've played, hockey, football, cricket for St. Mary's and so forth, I'm a team player. So you'll never see me playing golf. Nothing against golf, but I believe in teams, and that is why being into politics, being in the army, being involved as a commissioner of police, I work better around people rather than being isolated. And it's something that leadership is lacking in this country, where persons, they get in this position and they forget where they came from, they forget the persons who put them there. Marsha and several others constantly criticize me for everything. I'm not perfect. God knows I'll never be perfect. But the way to get to perfection is to be open to allow people to tell you something. When I've worked as the right hand to Basdio Pandey, military attaché to Basdio Pandey, Patrick Manning, A.N.R. Robinson as his AD-car, Kamala Prasad Bisessa, Keith Rowley. I've seen the good and bad of all 5 of them, and I was able to extract the good and try not to do the bad. And what I've seen in some leaders, sometimes they don't want to hear. They don't want to hear the wrong thing. They want to hear the good thing. And when you do that, you're not going to develop. And I keep telling persons who are working with you, you have to tell people what they need to know, not what they want to hear. And sometimes when you do that, they get offended, they turn on you. I need to be criticized. I need to know that to build myself, and I've continued to. I've spent 17 years in the Trinidad and Tobago Defence Force. I've spent time as a National Security Advisor, Minister of National Security, Commissioner of Police, and I will continue to serve my country how my country wants me, as they see fit. This situation here with this general election, every 5 years is the mother of all elections. It is a general election. My disappointment is that throughout this campaign, what we have seen is the nasty type of the politics, where persons will look at political parties such as the NTA and try their best to try to demonize us and state that we are vote splitters, we are PNM B team, we are not going to allow the UNC to get in. And this has happened since going back to, there are certain persons here not so young that you will remember going back to 1981. It started with the Organization for National Reconstruction, 91,000 votes. They didn't get a seat. It then moved to the National Alliance for Reconstruction in 1991, 127,000 votes, of which Kamala Prasad Bisessa was part of. I think she lost a deposit. They didn't get a seat. We then moved on to the Congress of the People, which is when I made my introduction into politics. And we got 148,000 votes. So 17 years later, for all those persons who are here between the age of 18 and 35, you never had that third choice. The last time was in 2007 with the Congress of the People. So, and there's a reason why the numbers continue to increase, because younger persons are not, even though the home might be a PNM or UNC home, mommy, daddy, you might be PNM or UNC till you die, but now younger persons are trying to educate their parents. This thing about you have to hold on to, I have to be a PNM or I have to be a UNC. I keep stating that does not help you. It doesn't make your life safer. It doesn't help improve the economy, national security, education, health. It doesn't. Blind loyalty is what I have in supporting Manchester United for the last 10 years and continue to suffer watching them lose over and over and over. And you stick with that. Blind loyalty is when I went to St. Mary's College, and for 8 years we couldn't win an intercall. But you stick with your football team. You don't have blind loyalty when it comes to politics. You have to continue to look and analyze the parties, the individuals, the policies, the ethics, and decide for yourself. The concept that you are going to hear is that we all need to team up to beat the PNM. But we are not here just to remove the government. We are here to ensure good governance. And this thing about just team up to beat one, and then when they get in, they're going to operate in the same manner. I was there in 2010 to 2015. I saw what was known as political domestic violence by the Congress of the People, on the Congress of the People, because the UNC got 21 seats. And as soon as they figured they got the 21 seats, they took the COP and bam, kicked them out. And from a party with 148,000 votes in 2007, in 2020, you'll think parties build. They moved from 148,000 votes in 2007 to 467 votes in 2020. How the mighty have fallen, from 148,000 to 467. And it was because the UNC realized we got in using most of persons here, and then when they got in, we don't need you anymore. That is what I call political domestic violence. If you do not appreciate what we bring to the table, we are not going to eat with you. And that is what happened when we formed in the local government election. We defeated the PNM by over 70,000 votes, because there was the Gary mania and persons who were the COP, ONR, NAR, non-PNM or UNC. They said, right, we're not too comfortable with UNC, let's work with Gary, because he'll keep them in check. And boy, was I wrong. After that, I started seeing individuals joining the UNC that left a lot to be desired. It is difficult for me when I was Minister of National Security, working hard to arrest major criminal elements involved in causing disasters in this country. And then the person who's the attorney is going and getting them cleared the very next day. And then when I'm in Parliament, he's sitting down behind me as a temporary senator. And now he's a candidate for the UNC. Now people say, oh, it's okay, it's the right of an attorney to clear persons. You could say that, but this is similar, as I said, I keep saying, it's like somebody have a cow petting zoo in the day, but at night he's running an abattoir. You can't be half pregnant. You cannot be an attorney that you going out of your way to clear criminal elements, to get them back out on the streets based on flaws in the justice system, and then you're stating in the same breath, but I want to be a candidate for you and a member of Parliament and part of the National Security Council to make you safer. It doesn't work that way. Because when you play with filthy animals, you will get fleas. I saw it. Being a minister and walking and seeing gang leaders building police stations. Now we have persons who are going to be candidates and members of Parliament romantically involved with 3 and 4 gang members. We have persons, candidates walking with gang leaders. I have a problem with that. I have no issue with the PNM or the UNC. Most of them are my very good friends. They are not the enemy. The enemy are those who deprive you of your fundamental right of safety and security. And if I see any political party that starts to look as like a criminal enterprise fronting as a political party, I would have concern. The PNM, I think people will agree that arguably it is probably the worst government the country has ever seen over the last few decades. But you're not going to say, let's be desperate to remove them, to just join up, to put in something where you'll know for yourself, you're looking at it, you're looking at the individuals, and you're saying, well, just to get rid of the PNM, let's do that. No, I am asking you to look at what we have, look at our policies, the plans, and the political will. And if you can decide for yourself, I want to vote for the PNM still, I want to vote for the UNC, that is your right. What we are here to do is to simply show to you that this can change. The United States has the same situation with the Republicans and the Democrats. We have the same thing. But with this bridge constituency, it can build, and it is continuing to build. Do not feel that you are obligated to have to vote for one or the other and you have to choose the lesser of two evils. You do not. It is your right to select. If it is that I believe in these people, and if I'm not too sure if they're going to win the election, let me go and look for the lesser of two evils. No, your vote is something that is precious and it belongs to you. And when political parties claim that you are split, they are splitting the votes. In local parlance, you're fast and out of place. There's no such thing as a split vote. Your vote belongs to you. And if by any chance, say Marsha Walker can win this seat, or Russell Chan, or Gary Griffith in St. Joseph, then it can very well become 2021. It becomes 2021. We now have the capability now to ensure that the other 20 seats of the political party we might work with, and we may select the political party based on moral and spiritual values, you never know. But whoever we choose, it will now allow us to be in a position to put checks and balances on that party, which was the problem that I had. Me being a Minister of National Security and getting the reports to see something called live sport. and $400 million being spent on live sport, 40 persons plus being killed indirectly, even Dana Sitahal. And my government is staying there and saying, no, you have to understand this is how it works, Gary. You've got to feed these people. And I will say it, if you play with filthy animals, you will get fleas. You feed them, they're going to take the profit, they're going to purchase more illegal weapons, they're going to pay off more rogue police officers, put hits on other gang members to get their state contracts. Do not give them state contracts. My style has always been, I'm not going to negotiate with criminals, I'm not going to turn a blind eye. And unfortunately, that started me going there in a different direction to my own government, because I stood up against my own government in live sport. 29 members of parliament, and all of them coming down on me and have the audacity to lie to say live sport is good. And I'm seeing the data to show that 400 million being given to criminals as kickback and thank you for getting us into government. So I stood up against them. And then when there was a situation with a senior government official being questioned by the police for possibly involved in a criminal activity, and I had the data that could have assisted the police to pinpoint if the person actually committed the crime, and all I said is, I am going to speak the truth. Who told me to do that? All of a sudden I was what they call it in UNC, a Nimakaram, and how I had a right to lie to protect someone. I'm not going to lie. And because I did that, I was fired. How could anyone want to vote for any political party that fires a minister for speaking the truth? That is how they are. And then it moved on. As Commissioner of Police, persons abstained because they didn't want Gary Griffith as Commissioner of Police. They got their attorneys to have me removed. And this was the UNC, by the way. So you see what the PNM has offered, and you're not pleased with it. So you're looking for a choice. The choice now is between the UNC, the NTA, and 15 other political parties. I can't recall their names. And all we are here to show you is giving you the offer to say, give us the opportunity, give us the chance, allow us the possibility to try to serve you, not to lead, but to serve. I have spent my life doing that. I spent 8 years in St. Mary's College, and I spent a lot of my time dealing with bullies, because I have always been that, fighting for those persons who needed to be defended. That's why I joined the Defense Force and became a military officer, left as a captain for 17 years, fighting for my country, being the youngest person to serve the country during the attempted coup, going to Haiti in the United Nations, going as a commissioner of police and getting death threats. That is the way I am. My style is here to protect you. I do not know most of you all. So when it is other political leaders, I love you. I can't say that I love you because I don't know you, but I am willing to serve you. I'm willing to protect you. I'm willing to do what is required to make life better for you. And even if it affects me, it affects my life, so be it. It's not that I'm expendable, but that is my lifestyle. My lifestyle has been one. I am willing to do what is required. I'm willing to lead by example, which is why as commissioner, it wasn't that Gary was a Batman, but I am not going to have those under my command do anything that I'm not prepared to do myself. So I'll be the front person. And by that happening, it was rather dangerous, but it allowed the police service to be transformed. And that is just I don't want to stay too long. I just want to explain about the transformation. That's why we are known as the National Transformation Alliance. Because people believed at that time when I took over the police service, public trust and confidence was 14%, 1-4. They said, you can't fix that. And it took a lot of work. I got them to believe in themselves. I got the public to start believing in them. Started putting checks and balances to measure their performance, make them accountable. Something simple as crazy as giving everyone in the country my phone number. And it ensured that every police officer knows if I stop somebody in a roadblock and I find, hey, this girl looking nice, let me track her. But if I disrespect her, she will call Gary and next thing I'm upstairs, which is what I was doing. I will have them lined off from ACP go all the way down to constable. The line was long and distinguished to let them know that anytime you go outside of what you are there to do, you swore an oath to your God, your country, and the people. Do not disrespect the uniform. And all of a sudden, the same rogue police officers realized by force they had to start getting in line. Those who did not, I fired 73 of them, got them charged, got them suspended. And that is what I did. So if I was able to transform the police service, public trust and confidence, then move to 59% from the lowest it went to the highest, we could do the same for every arm in the public service just by putting that type of leadership, management, accountability, and measurement of performance. It is not what you're going to call this thing called a manifesto. A manifesto has been 6 decades plus of lies. They prepare it, they package it, and they're unable to justify how they're going to get the revenue to offset the expenditure. So it means they're either going to lie because they can't afford it, or if you get into government, you're going to try to devalue the dollar, you're going to try to get an international loan, or you're going to raise taxes. Whichever it is, it's going to be a byproduct towards inflation, increasing the cost of goods and services, unemployment, and crime. So we have to be very careful about manifestos. We go on chat GPT, you actually saw that the NTA was given the #1 thumbs up over all the other 4 political parties because we didn't have a manifesto. What we had was a roadmap towards transformation. We are so used to hearing this manifesto. What's in your manifesto? Oh, we're going to build skyscrapers to the moon, and we're going to give everybody wings to fly, and all sort of fancy things to get you excited to say, wow, this is what I'm going to get. You're going to cut all the taxes. You're going to do that. No, what we're going to do, just try to run this government as a business. Is what I did with the police service. I didn't get a cent from Minister Imbert extra, but what I did is look at the police service and start cutting the fat without affecting productivity. I found out that certain police officers, 200 of them were working 24 hours a day, 30 days a month, making $80,000 a month when they should be making 10. Save $100 million per annum in overtime corruption. With that, now I was able to purchase tasers, pepper spray, body cameras, GPS tracking on vehicles, do customer service training for every police officer, reignite the police marine branch, get drones, open the... And that's what we have, that roadmap towards transformation. Cutting the waste, the mismanagement, the incompetence, the corruption. I don't know if you're all aware, any of you all not in the public service, there's something called state boards. 120 plus state boards, there are about 5 to 10 persons in each state board. Those 1,000 positions, most of them, right? I hope none of you all are in state boards. If any of you all, I apologize. But most of them are persons without any training, qualification, knowledge, or experience in the field because they're given it based on the party card they have in their back pocket. And that is what will cause the lack of productivity of the state boards. So we wonder why we have all these state boards and we're losing tens of millions per month because we have never put the right persons in it. Our intention is we're not supposed to use state boards as an avenue to give somebody a fix-up. I remember in 2000 when I was there with Basdio Pandey, the guy who was in charge of Petrotrin, you know, he didn't know the difference between probably diesel and regular fuel for your car. So he was clueless, but he was the right hand of a very, very senior government official, and he was put in charge of Petrotrin. And that is what we have done for so long, put square pegs in wrong holes instead of trying to find the best persons regardless of your political party card. Because what happens when the PNM gets in government, nobody that's in UNC must be selected. When the UNC gets in government, the same thing. So what you have done, you have cut 1/2 of that human resource, that intellectual capacity, and then you start bringing minions way down the pecking order who can't do anything proper, and you give them the position, and it affects you. It happens right now. Because when you look at even at the UNC, they removed the Vasan Barra, the Kevin Ramnarines, the Gary Griffith. Anybody who may have the ability to do something because you're afraid that it might affect you in the future. So what you do, you bring people around you who may not have the capacity to do well, but they're loyal to you. And if loyalty becomes the criteria for business rather than getting the best persons available, we are going to fail. I am prepared to be the dumbest person in the room in any aspect if it can ensure it's the best persons that can make me make the right decision. And that's what a prime minister, a president, a captain of a team is supposed to do. I don't have to be the best in everything. As a military officer, I was not always the best shot, the best in drill, but I had to be good at it. But having the best persons around you, they will be able to guide you. So many times, Marsha, Russell, other person will say, Gary, I don't think you should say that. Gary, I think we should go in that direction. If they do not do that, it will allow me to keep doing the same thing over and over and making the same mistake. And if you are a prime minister doing that, God help us. And we have seen leaders in this country for the last few years doing that. You cannot speak to them, you cannot advise them, and because of that, they will make the mistakes. I give you the assurance that what I have is a team of 17 good candidates that can stand anywhere for public scrutiny. And they have the capability, they have the patriotism, and they have the political will to make this a great country. So as I close, I'll just open to questions. Thank you for being here. I know it's been difficult. I just came out from just running about 10 miles all over St. Joseph, trying to make St. Joseph safe again. I have another meeting to attend. And that again, you're not going to see any political leader do that. I have walked the hills of Scorpion, St. Lucian Road, Simeon Road, Paramin, Cocorite, all the hills in Laventille, Beetham, Sealot, and everywhere I've gone, I've been told, and this is from local government and now, we've never seen a previous Minister of National Security up here. We've never seen a previous Commissioner of Police up here, or present. We've never seen a political leader up here. And I say, well, wait a minute, if these people, you want to serve people and you've never been up here? I was so looking forward to go up for Diego Martin West against Keith Rowley. But then when I realized he wasn't taking part again, I said, all right, let me just head it to St. Joseph. I wanted this. I wanted it bad. I wanted to take him on mano a mano. But I think you all are in good hands with the individuals that are here. I think I'm more than confident they have the capability to serve you and serve you well. I would love, and my final point, I would love to be a prime minister and have members of parliament spend their time serving the people who voted for you. What happens in this country is you have 41 members of parliament, a government wins 23-18, for example, and now as a prime minister, the 23, you have to put them in a position to make them a minister. And on most occasions, we have like the Minister of Communications. I could ask most of you might know who he is. We have a Minister of Communication who has never communicated in the country for 5 years. He's the Minister of, for 10 years. We have a Minister of Sport, and she continues to boast that she has never kicked a lime. We have a Minister of Finance, and he went to the same school with me. I mean, that was a blotch on St. Mary's, but I don't think he probably didn't go past Form 3 in accounts. That was calling him Bert, because he couldn't balance the most basic budget. And for the first 6 months of every year, I have to run 7,000 police officers, 120 buildings, 1,700 vehicles without a cent for 6 months, because he didn't understand that giving me money to pay salaries, I cannot use that to pay for goods and services. And I spent 6 months, the first 6 months of every fiscal year, keeping the police service together without fuel, without vehicles, without electricity bills being paid. So when we put these square pegs in round holes, what happens? You're going to fail, just as the state boards. My intention is if persons are selected here, these 17 candidates, we are selected to be members of parliament, serve the people who are there. You know what happens? The minister, like for example, the prime minister, no one would have ever seen the prime minister walk anywhere. If I'm prime minister, I am going to keep walking, if not running, because the people who put me there I'm supposed to be there to serve them. We have taken you for granted because there's Field Diego Martin is a safe PNM seat. It is not. In 2010, we were that close. Diego Martin West, the PNM won by just about 700 votes. Diego Martin Northeast, that was Rocky Garcia. Diego Martin Northeast, PNM won by about 700 odd votes. That was by somebody called Garvin Nicholas. Diego Martin Central, PNM won by about 700 votes again, and that was against somebody called Nicole Dyer Griffith. Well, half of Diego Martin Central is my family, so that probably helped as well. But the point being is, if the UNC or the People's Partnership had put any effort in Diego Martin, they didn't have one public meeting in the campaign, not one, because the UNC doesn't see Diego Martin as part of the country. That's why they have just given it up to a party whose political leader is probably the most despicable human being I've ever seen him or heard in my life. When you take that individual and you put him in your party, it says a lot about you. You put him in your party, and all this man could speak about is to attack my wife who has stage 4 cancer and attack my children. It says a lot about you as a political leader. I don't want people like that around me, and I'm sure you don't as well. When somebody could only spit hate, bitterness, division, you don't want that. I don't want that in my team. I want us to build, not divide. I want us to unite, not destroy. And that's what I'm here for. I have been a student. Yes, I'm trained for war, I'm trained for battle, but I'm also trained to unite a country. At the Royal Military Academy, Sandhurst, most of us who train there, from Queen Elizabeth's sons and everyone, we are trained to lead, but also trained to serve. 31 of the 45 US presidents had military service. So when people get this perception that all that we are trained for is to carry a gun and to fight wars and to kick down buildings, kick down doors, and yeah, we are trained to do that as well. But we are also trained to understand that I am prepared to take a bullet for you. I'm prepared to protect you. I'm prepared to do what is required. I ended up in the hospital on 2 occasions as Commissioner of Police. When it is I just broke down, working 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, and then I got this nice thing with this IV, and all of a sudden I was back up and running. That's what I intend to do. I intend to work very hard. If you have a prime minister who you cannot find, you cannot see, that cannot walk, that cannot have the energy and the drive to be there for you, well, then you're not going to get that individual coming forward to make that ultimate sacrifice. I am prepared to do so, and so are the 16 other candidates. Give us that fighting chance. Give us the opportunity to serve you. I thank you.
Do you guys have any questions for him? Who laughing so?
Thank you very much.
Well, guys, if you don't have any questions, we're not going to keep speaking because we're not those kind of politicians. You do have a question. Oh, no. No, you're just playing with your hair there. Okay, so guys, it was really a pleasure. As I said, you can leave your name and number. Nobody's going to sell your data, I promise you. We can add you to, you don't have to be added to like a group. You could just, so that you don't see all the messages and all that. But we can add you to, as I said, my broadcast list. It's not hugely political, but it's just, what I do over the last 6 years. So you can leave your information. And there's somebody there if you want my cell phone number, though. I think the world has it anyway. But y'all can get that to the back as well. And feel free to message. I will just ask message versus call, just because now is a bit of a busy time. So if I'm on the phone, I tend to get like 10 missed calls. Whereas for those who came late, if you WhatsApp me and you're okay with it, I'll respond at about 3 a.m. when we're all finished here, and I could get back to it. So you guys can take my cell phone number at the back. Someone could give it to you, and you could leave yours. And any questions you guys have after today. But thank you very much for taking the time. The live was streamed, so again we can share that. So because if we're going to transform Digger Martin West, we don't only count on your vote, but we count on you getting 10. How's about that? Is that a challenge that I could give you all? It was a pleasure, Digger Martin West. Thank you very much for having us.
So let us save our nation. No! NT, we voting NTA. Voting, we voting NTA. Voting, we voting NTA. Voting, we voting NTA. Yeah, baby! It's all about NTA. Here we go! Somebody say NTA.
Roadmap for National Transformation. The National Transformation Alliance presents a bold roadmap for Trinidad and Tobago's future. This integrated national strategic plan brings together security, economic growth, infrastructure, and governance into one unified vision. Built for progress, built for people. Who is the NTA? Our vision is simple: a just, secure, and prosperous Trinidad and Tobago. Our mission? To transform governments, diversify the economy, reform education, empower communities, and lead with ethics and transparency. We promise leadership you can trust, a nation where opportunity and justice are one for all. Beyond a manifesto. We go beyond political manifestos. This is not about 5-year promises. It's a long-term blueprint, constantly evolving to meet national needs. Transformation is not a slogan. It's a shift in how we lead, plan, and serve. Our transformation strategies. We've identified 8 critical pillars, from education and strong institutions to safety, digitalization, economic growth, and effective planning. Each strategy supports the other, building a strong, stable, and future-ready Trinidad and Tobago. People and society development. We are investing in people. That means education reform, youth entrepreneurship, community-based development, and strong family support systems. Our society thrives when our families, youth, and communities are equipped to lead. Safety and security. Your safety is our highest priority. We'll modernize law enforcement, reform our courts, and protect communities with data-driven strategies, youth intervention, and stronger border and cyber security. Everyone deserves to feel safe, at home, at work, and on the streets. Economic transformation. We'll drive economic growth through innovation, SME development, and a just transition to renewable energy.
What an NTA, like a blue. Like a food like a blue.
Orange
Like a food like a blue.
Call to action.
Empty.
Time for
Empty.
work is
You
over.
to empty.
NTA is a call to action. Vision,
Empty. Empty.
together, let's build a Trinidad and Tobago that is secure, respected, and thriving.
My name is
Roadmap for
Sarah.
National Transformation. The National Transformation Alliance presents a bold roadmap for Trinidad and Tobago's future. This integrated national strategic plan
I want to
brings
sing
together
you a Judah
security,
song.
economic growth, infrastructure, and governance into one unified vision. Build for progress, build for people.
Mary had a little
All simple, a just, secure,
W-I-B-L-E.
Trinidad and
Yes, that's the book for me. I stand along in the word of God. W-I-B-L-E.
form education,
W-I-B-L-E.
our community,
Yes, that's the book for me. I stand along in the word of God. W-I-B-L-E. Yes,
nation where
the word
opportunity and
I-B-L-E.
justice are
Yes,
one for
the book. I'm kind of
Beyond
shy,
the
me.
manifesto.
Yeah, I'm not shy,
We
but
go beyond political
I'm not shy
matters.
anymore, me. Yeah.
This is not about 5-year promise.
NTA,
It's a
NTA.
long-term blueprint
Like a blue.
to meet national needs.
Hey guys,
Transformation is not a slogan.
welcome to our channel.
In how we lead,
My name's
plan, and
Bobby Roberts,
Our
and my name is
transformation
Sarah,
strategies.
and
We've identified
I'm Jesus
8
Christ.